Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to Weekly CTI. I'm glad to have you today because we got a really cool piece of Stealer malware to get our hands on and look through and see what it does. I'll be honest with you, I had a really good time looking through this piece of malware. I learned a lot from it, to be honest with you. There's going to be some interesting techniques and tactics that are employed inside this malware. You might be saying to yourself, Daniel, you sound like you are like Barry White all of a sudden. What the heck is going on with the deep voice? Yeah, I'd like to just say my, test levels have gone through the roof. But that's not the case. I'm just sick. I'm just a sick person right now. Patient zero, that's me. That's what's going on with the voice. So you'll bear with me a little bit as my not enthusiasm. My enthusiasm is up. My energy levels, on the other hand, they're not quite so hot. Before we get deep into this lovely piece of Stealer malware, do me the favor, go ahead and hit that like button. Leave me a comment. Share it with your friends if you will. If you feel so inclined, you find value from the show, well, then you find that subscribe button and you know what to do. That's right. All right, let's jump into it. Today we are going straight to the Hacker News. And the Hacker News as Typhon Reborn Stealer malware resurfaces with the advanced evasion techniques. I don't know why I turned to like a mafia guy for a second there, but it is a fun voice to put on, I will say. I do like doing that. It is a good time for me. So, what's really important about this, or I say important, it's interesting, and it's what I learned most from as I was reading about this and learning about this and looking at the technical breakdown, is this advanced evasion techniques. And this is going to be stuff that we can use as pen testers and red teamers and that ilk to do some really good threat emulation, or to increase the capabilities of our implants and our own, for lack of a better term, malware that we use when we infiltrate into our clients' networks, right? So I'm going to definitely hit some highlights here, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. It says the threat actor behind the information stealing malware known as Typhon Reborn it seems like a movie, right? Like it's a movie title. Typhon Reborn has resurfaced with an updated version V2 that packs in improved capabilities to evade detection and resist analysis. And that analysis resistance is really neat stuff. Like I will say, I do not like malware people doing malware stuff, but I do tip my hat to their skill and ability. I cannot deny the capabilities behind our adversaries. They are skilled individuals, and they are a worthy foe. I can respect what they can do. I don't respect what they do. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And guess what? It comes in for the low price of $59 a month. That's right. If you act now, you could even lock this in for the yearly price of $360. Or alternatively, if you're feeling froggy, go ahead and throw down 540 bones and Bitcoin or whatever, currency. It's most likely some sort of cryptocurrency. You can grab yourself a lifetime subscription. Now, you're not going to see deals this low again. All malware must go, right? They are slashing prices. I guess when the economy takes a turn for the worse, even malware devs have got to do what they got to do and try to, keep up with what's going on there. This stealer can harvest and exfiltrate sensitive information. It uses the Telegram API to send stolen data to attackers. Cisco Talos researcher Edmund Brumigan said in Tuesday report. And guess what? It's going to be that Cisco Talos report. It's going to be our big helper in helping us get into the technical deets of this crazy graphic that they put on the Talos page. My hat's off to the artist that rendered this. This is entertaining. It's got an egg. It's cracked. It looks like some sort of like Cthulhu thing going on with snake hands. This is fun. This is, you know, I drew as a kid. I don't know if you did any art as a child, but I used to draw crazy stuff as well. I still do from time to time. I got kids and they're like, Daddy, make it funny. Do something funny. I'm like, all right, I'll draw you something crazy. This reminds me of something I would draw. All right, updated Stealer. So let's get into, you know, just a quick talk. We've kind of hit the major. Did I do the thing I normally do? I want to give credit where the credit is due, right? We did say that this is from the Hacker News, but our intrepid reporter is named Ravi Lakshmanan. I believe I got that right. So good job. It was a really good article. I thought he wrote it up well. And that's why I chose it, because the article seemed interesting. And then the technical breakdown, super, super awesome. So like I said, let's just talk about kind of what this thing does. So it's a stealer malware. What does that mean? It steals things. You're like, you know, expand, Daniel. What does it steal? Well, I mean, think of the things that you would think that it would steal, and it probably steals that. This is actually a pretty comprehensive piece of malware when it comes to evasions and anti-analysis, as well as what it can steal and how it exfiltrates. It's really interesting. Again, bad folks, stop doing your thing, right? But this is interesting stuff. So it steals, one of the main things it goes after is crypto wallets. It wants that crypto. It's like, hey, you got any of that crypto? If so, I'm just going to go ahead and slide this over here. And now it's gone. You didn't need it anyway, right? It's a volatile market. You don't want to be a part of that. You just the highs and lows. There's just the swings are too crazy. You know, I'm going to help you sleep at night. Now all that crypto's gone. You ain't got to worry about it. So they definitely like crypto. They'll also go for like passwords and tokens and just anything that's saved that could be useful to them or to the person that is. So again, this is kind of like malware as a service. You can utilize this for $59 a month or whatever it was. Or was it 56? I don't forget. Anyway, doesn't matter. 50 some odd bucks and you got yourself some pretty advanced malware. Steal all the things you like. Don't do that, by the way. Plus, as we'll get to, you might not have to do that if you got the chutzpah, I think it's pronounced chutzpah, to do this on your own, kind of mess around with this and kind of show you where you can do that. So, yeah, so it steals those things. Like I said, super cheap. It's not really expensive. So if you know, I'm sure there are a bunch of threat actors out there that are going, yay, I have malware and I like malware. Okay, so moving on. Let's get into the guts of this thing, kind of gets into the release. Oh, yeah, I did want to show you this. This is kind of awesome. Here is where it comes from the Russian language, Russian-speaking Darkweb forum, XSS. Samples uploaded to public repositories indicate that the new version of Typhon Reborn has been in the wild since December. So, good times. Here's the actual advertisement for Typhon. Got this interesting faced person. I don't know what's going on there. It looks like some sort of weird makeup. But advanced stealer. Cheap price compared to others. Yeah, completely private. No backdoor. Okay. Sends logs directly to Telegram bot. We kind of picked that up. Tells us it's written in .NET. It's bitten. It's been bitten by a snake. Some sort. If you've never seen the show, I Was Bitten. I think it was called I Was Bitten. Yeah. Whew, buddy, I learned some things. Like there's a thing out there called a stiletto snake, and you do not want to get bit by that. Also, elephants will bite you. And when they do, you're in a world of hurt at that point. That's not a good day for you if you get bit by an elephant. Just saying. Not saying it's like a common thing, but it was on that show and it was crazy as hell, right? So, yeah, if you dare look up stiletto snake bite, it's not pretty. I'm going to go ahead and warn you. The images are graphic. I'm a weird sicko that finds that kind of thing interesting. So that's what's up. All right. Back to the malware, not stiletto snakes. Here's some of the features. We got browser recovery, decrypting cookies, credit cards, passwords, autofills, right? Like I said, it steals things. Target over 40 plus browsers of Chromium and Gecko browsers with Edge and IE. Decrypt V80 plus. Decrypts VPN files of Proton VPN, OpenVPN, NordVPN. That's scary. Decrypts FTP hosts and logins of FileZilla and WinSCP. Probably the two most used. Targets 5 plus IM clients, Thunderbird email, gaming clients. That's cool, right? Just grabbing stuff from it, right? You might have saved information there. Crypto wallet stealer. Yep, of course there is. 30 plus wallets from browser extensions of Chrome and Edge. 10 plus wallets. Just says 10 plus. That's weird. Custom blacklisted countries. That is another thing. It does kind of check to see where it is in the world and make sure that it does not attack anybody that is in these blacklisted countries, which are CIS, right? We've got anti-CIS optional blacklist members of modern CIS countries, excludes Ukraine and Georgia. Well, how about that? There's a file grabber. Yep, it does grab. Grabs total of 50 megabytes max and a custom maximum file size, custom file extensions, accepted cryptocurrencies. What'd I tell you? XMR, well, I guess that's Ethereum. I don't know what XMR is. TRC20. Okay. And then you can contact them on Telegram. Well, there you go. All right, so there's the hit list of things that this thing does. Obviously, that list is quite extensive. It's quite extensive. It has some serious capabilities. So you could see probably things like organized crime being very attracted to using something like this. And then they do really bad stuff with that money that they steal from you or with the files that they steal from you, right? So we want to learn about how, this thing does what it does. And that way, hopefully, we can protect ourselves from it, right? So let's jump back in. Let's get back to work, as it were. Notable changes, right? Because this is not the first iteration of this. Is actually this, obviously, right? We've been talking about it being. So there's Typhon, there's Typhon Reborn, and now there's Typhon Reborn version 2, the Typhoning. I threw that extra part on there because, to me, everything that's a part 2 is Highlander 2, the Quickening. That was my first Highlander movie. I did not see the original Highlander first. I really wish I had. That second one, I was a kid. It didn't make much sense to me. There was people flying around on space things and sword fights and stuff like that, so I was in. And then when I saw the original Highlander, I was like, oh, so that other movie was dumb. This movie's good. So if you've never seen Highlander, don't watch the second one. It's questionable about the others. You could teeter one way or the other. But that first Highlander flick is pretty awesome. All right, so here's some of the changes. You'll notice there are some of the things that we talked about, like blacklisting and file grabbing, implants. There's all the stealer stuff that's going on, right? Gaming, FTP, messaging, VPN, crypto. And then you see the browsers there, Chromium, Edge, and Gecko. All sorts of fun stuff that they can do. All right. And you're like, wow, man, they really got a good handle on this that's going on here, right? Because they're seeing this Windows security host.exe, PE, blah, 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 all this stuff. Yeah. I'm going to show you something cool here before too much longer. So just remember all these screenshots and all this cool stuff. All right. Some code changes between V1 and V2. Obviously, it's going to get updated. What's interesting is this is where it starts to get into just some of the overviews on what you can expect to see when it comes to anti-analysis and anti-virtualization capabilities, right? Let's see here. For example, the developer made several changes to the logic that prevents the malware from infecting systems that match predefined criteria. That includes heavily expanding this list of criteria to include present usernames, CPU IDs, applications, and processes present on the system, debugger emulation checks, geolocation for countries that the attacker may wish to avoid. Well, there you go. All right. I say that a lot, don't I? There you go. Well, there it is, son. you came to me and I give it to you. There it is. Enjoy. That's what we give you. But it's this anti-analysis stuff that's really interesting. And there are some obfuscation that goes along here. So this is dissecting Typhon Reborn. So the malware complicates analysis via string obfuscations. So string obfuscations is something I'm really interested in. How can I make it to where antivirus, EDR, these solutions for trying to like look and see, is this a bad thing? And then put the kibosh on it if it is. How do I get around that? And I remember first kind of bumping into this, as you become someone who's into cybersecurity, you obviously are going to run into something like Metasploit. You're like, oh, cool. I can use this Metasploit thing and it's got this MSF Venom thing and I can generate an EXE that gives me a reverse shell. This is crazy. That's super awesome. And then you find out in like 10 seconds after you generate your first EXE and you upload it to your target, that Windows Defender goes, what in the Sam hell is this? And you're like, what? It's just a file. And you're like, yeah, it's a file, all right. It's a file of nasty badness made from that dumb, stupid, dumb Metasploit. You're trying to Metasploit here, aren't you? Did you bring the Metasploity stuff up in my house? It's like a dad chastising his son for, he finds him smoking cigarettes. What have you done, son? What are you smoking in my house? You crazy son. And then he's got to chastise him. Windows Defender chastised me real quick. And I'm like, okay. How do I get around that? These demonstration things are kind of hard. That's not cool. I want to do the things, but now I gotta, right? And then you're probably saying the same thing, right? If Windows Defender busts all the Metasploit stuff, then it doesn't really work. It can. It's just hard, right? You have to do things like obfuscations. You have to change the way things work and the way things look, so that when Defender or whatever, Sophos or Kaspersky or whomever, right? Avast, they go, what's this you got there? And it just goes, oh, that's weird. I mean, I can't tell if it does anything weird or not, but it's weird. I guess it doesn't do anything bad because I don't see anything bad happening. I don't know any signatures that are around this. That's what obfuscation does for us. And that's what goes on here, right? And this was one of the things that I've seen a lot. Now, I have historically, right, it says during execution, the malware decodes the base 64, right? Because it says the string is obfuscated by using base 64 encoding. I have done that. That was one of the first things I learned. Oh, you can base 64 encode stuff. And then it makes it a whole lot more difficult for these systems to tell, the good from the bad. And the other thing that I've noticed that has been kind of popular, especially lately, is applying this XOR function to various strings. During execution, the malware decodes the base 64, generating a UTF-8 character encoded string. It is then deobfuscated using a XOR key stored in the malware's configuration or hard-coded in the decrypt string value. The XOR key is used based on the mode passed when the function is called each time. The resulting string is then decoded from base 64 again, creating a plain text string to continue the operation. So there's levels of base 64 encoding, and so you got a base 64 and then you XOR, and then you get the idea, right? It's kind of jumping around. Here's the code that makes that happen. This is written in C#. Yeah, C#. I'm not a C#. I dev, right? I can kind of look at this and see a bit what's going on. Like I can see, right, encoding UTF-8 get string convert from base 64 string data. So whatever the data is, you can see that's being brought into the decrypt string data int mode equals blah, 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 right? And then you have string encoding UTF get string convert from base 64, and there's a base 64 encoded string. Then you got a loop, and then you can see a XOR operation right here. That little hat, that little carrot, they call it, the carrot. That's lets you know that's what it's doing. And there's some more XOR, like there's the XOR key being used and so on and so forth. But I thought, man, That doesn't, I mean, that's cool, but I don't know how to do that. I want to learn how to do that. So guess what? I'm not like an expert at it or anything now, but I did learn how to do that. Let's jump over here. Let's open a terminal and let's expand, right? So let's see if I can remember how to do this off the top of my head. Python 3. Let's just jump into the, what is it, IDE or whatever it's called. So, or do it. This will take me forever, and I'll fumble this up. I wrote it all down, so I obviously don't want to forget. I don't know why I just closed that, because I'm sick and tired. Right? I've got a couple of files here. I got shell.py. Let me go into documents. That's where I saved them all. There we go. So I just wrote them in Python. It's probably the thing I'm most familiar with. So that's what I went with. And I've got this Zor setup.txt file so that I can remember how to do this. We'll just cat that. Zor setup.txt. And you're like, what is all this garbage on the screen? Well, it's a lot of garbage. So it starts off with step 1, generate a payload with MSF Venom. So yes, I did use MSF Venom to generate a payload. So there it is right there. I don't know if you can, bam, just kind of blow that up a little bit. I've got the payload is a Python, right? Because I'm working in Python. Gave me shell reverse, TCP, good old shell reverse like we like. And then L host, right? Give it the attack IP, L port, whatever the port is you're going to put it on. And then the format is Python. Simple, right? We like this. And then it does some stuff. And then there's the payload side of 400 bytes. Payload side, size of 400 bytes. And there's my payload right there. You'll notice there's some base 64 business going on. Having a great time. I actually ran this. So I just saved it to a file. I ran it in the VirusTotal. Not a ton of stuff. I think only 3 things detected it. But that's 3 systems that I had to worry about, right? So now if I want fully, what do they, we got FUD, right? Fully undetectable. You go to step 2, base 64, encode your payload as a bytes object in Python. So I just made a variable called Python shell. You got to do the import base 64 thing, and then we do base 64 encode, right? So base 64.b64 encode. And then I slap at the bytes object, which is that payload. Just grab that, slap it in there, and you're good to go. Now I have this Python shell variable that has that information in there, and it is a bytes object, which I needed to do. All right, step 3, print the base 64 encoded payload. All right, so just print that out because we're going to need that. There it is. You just print that bytes base 64 encoded payload. Fun. Next, we need to create and print a key to Zor with. If you're not familiar with Zoring or XORing, however you want to call it, it is basically like if the 2 things are the same, then that equals 1. If the 2 things are different, that equals 0. Get the idea? So if I've got 1 and 1, that equals 1. If I got 1 and 0, that equals 0. Okay? If I've got 0 and 0, that equals 1 because they're the same. Okay? Now, I was reading about how to do this, and you have to use this function in Python called zip. Let's kind of jump back and see if I can look that up real quick and show you there were some Python 3 and then zip. And it's for like creating tuples. I want the docs. I want the docs. It's a built-in function. Here we go. Come on, you can do it. There we go. And then just find it in here. And since it's in Z, it's the only one there. Right? You got this iterables. So this is kind of how this works. See if I can make it viewable. Where the heck did that go? Did it go down? I guess we're at the last thing here. I can't believe I did that. There we go. So we got this 4 item in zip, and then you got range. So the range is 3, so it's giving you 3 things. And you got fee, fi, fo, fum. You'll notice there are 4 things to iterate through, and you can get this error if the things aren't identically the same length. That was one of the first things I noticed. Throat's getting a little. So give me a second here. Aha. Oh man. I hate being sick. I don't know about y'all. So, because that can cause problems, even though it does say that it will just kind of iterate through. So if your key value is smaller than the things you're iterating through, then it'll just like start back over at the beginning of the key. So it should be fine. I just wanted to avoid anything, so I made the key the same length as the payload. Okay? So that's what I'm using here. So let's go back. I don't need you anymore. Come on over here. Yeah, Typhon. Booyah. This is what I need. So this is how I made that happen. To create a key, I just did this import secrets thing. Tell it how long I want it to be. So just have length equals the like how long is Python shell. That's what I wanted to know. Like how long in bytes is this thing? And then printed that out, and I see it's 536 bytes. Okay, cool. Now that I know how long the key needs to be, I say key equals secrets.token bytes, byte length, and then print key. Right, so that byte length, and I just created that variable right there, byte length equals 536. You're like, where'd you get that, Daniel? Right there, and then bam, there's the key, which I need to print out as well, because you're going to need that. So now that I can see it, I can now XOR the base 64 encoded payload with the key. And here is that process right here. I just call it an encoded payload. You throw it bytes, and you can see you've got the XOR function right here. Like it's got A and B. So we're going to XOR A and B together. And then A and B are the things that we're going to pass you through zip. And there's zip. I'm throwing it Python shell and the key. And there's my output right there. Bajanga. Fun, right? So now that I have that all done, I have all those bits and pieces, I can actually create the, quote unquote malware. My bunny ears. Hop, hop. Which is shell.py. So I'll cat shell.py. And here we go. And you're like, whoa-zy dozy, right? So there's where I had to import base64 because we're going to do some base64 stuff, right? And then PLD or payload, as it were. That is going to be, right, my final last thing. That's what this is. You'll notice that should be the same. XABPY. And we have XABPY. So that's all good. That's all the same. Then I need to bring the key in because I need to de-encrypt or de-XOR or de-encode. I don't know if XORing is an encoding or an encrypting. Not 100% on that. Either way, I need that key. So I bring that in. There's the key. Slap that in there. Then I did some hocus pocus, right? And I just reran the XOR, right? So I have XOR, right? A and B for A and B in zip. Run it through the payload. Do it with the key. And then open sesame. We have to base64 decode and turn it into UTF-8 string. Bada bing. Base64 decode. Base64.b64 decode. Throw hocus pocus in there, whatever that is. That's the unxored action right there. And then you hit it dot decode and tell it, I want it to be in UTF-8, which turns it into a string. Once I have that, well, that's my original MSF Venom payload. I can just execute that. Let's have some fun, shall we? Sudo nc-nvlp on port 443. Put in my password. Booyah. Let's jump into Windows, shall we? I think we shall. So I happen to have Kali Linux installed with WSL. And let's pretend we've already got the malware on here, which we do. There it is right there, shell.py. And if I do Python 3 shell.py, you'll notice it doesn't seem to be doing anything. We jump back over and we see a connection to, I can say a host name, and it's Hackbox. Bam, I can do ID. You can see, booyah. So cool, right? There's shell.py right there. You'll notice this is not, right, I've got an old key here and all sorts of stuff. I am on. That would be stuff I would want to steal at this point in time if I were, so inclined. So that's how that works. That was really cool to learn. Hopefully you like that. I know I'm running short on time now, but I thought that was an interesting kind of fun thing to do and learn more about that. Because like I say, right, that's what this show is all about. I want to learn about something. Okay, well now I know malware writers are doing a lot of base 64 encoding with Zoring, and now I've actually got some hands-on experience with making that happen. I get it more. I understand it more, and I can probably utilize it a whole lot better. And I know that's a very contrived example, a demonstration, but hey, want to put a little meat on the bone, right? Let's see what else we can do. This is more of the, some stealing stuff. We see that these are some of the grabber file extensions: TXT, RTF, doc, DOCX, PDF, XLS, so on and so forth. A lot of stuff you would probably expect to see would want to be stolen. What else is it doing? Let's get in here. All right, so this is where we have a real lot of fun. We'll spend a little bit of time here on these anti-analysis and sandbox evasion. This is probably going to be the other big chunk of this episode. So what does it do? Well, how it does this as far as anti-analysis and anti-sandbox or sandbox evasion or anti-virtualization, however you want to put this, what it does is it looks for a lot of different pieces of the am I in a sandbox puzzle and tries to put that together. It does its best Columbo work, and it gathers all sorts of different evidence and then tries to see the big picture of, are you trying to run me in some sort of like analysis mode? Because if you are, I'm not doing nothing. I'm actually just going to, well, you know what it'll do? If it detects any of this craziness that it doesn't like, it'll just terminate and delete itself. Just call it a day. Be like, you know what? This was fun, but I'm out. Right? It says when Typhon v2 main method is executed, it checks malware configuration to determine if anti-analysis has been enabled. How does it do that? Checks for things like, what's the graphics card? Does it say VMware SVGA? If it does, it seems like I'm in a VMware virtual machine, because that's probably what it's going to be called. So it goes through a lot of these different cool little checks here. It says if any of these checks fail, malware will self-remove. Here's how it does that. Pardon me. So sorry, but I am sick, right? I trudge forth for you. I'm doing this for you. I cannot miss my weekly CTI, right? So it just kind of like creates this batch file with these, task kill stuff, so it can kill that process, and then it has a self-remove function inside of it, so it knows what to do and how to remove itself. It's got all that stuff right there, right? So it's kind of smart. If I'm not in a safe environment, I need to self-terminate and call it a day. Too bad it's not like the Terminator, right? Oh, sorry about that. I've had you guys on the you haven't seen the screen. There's the screen. There is the batch file that it creates, and then the remove function right there. I was going to talk about the Terminator, but I cannot self-terminate, right? This, on the other hand, can. Pardon again. All right. Here's the overall execution flow of the various analysis checks. Checks GPU information for VMware indicator or for VM indicators. System hosting environment. Check for the presence of security software DLLs. Manufacturing models for VM indicators. Video control for VM. Check remote debugger present. Are there debuggers? Are you trying to debug me? Stop it. No. Sleeps and checks the time delta. Command line used to execute the malware. Registry checks for analysis tools, processor ID or the CPU ID. Is this, because if you're in a virtual machine, you get a specific CPU ID. What usernames are on the system is looking for specific usernames. I've yet to figure that out. I mean, I guess some of them are like a well-known username for analysis systems. I mean, some of them make sense, but some of them don't, to me. Running processes for analysis tools, internet connectivity. It definitely likes internet connectivity. malware, executable file name. What else we got here? It's a long list, right? Presence of wine. Am I being run in wine? Checks the start menu for analysis tools, unsigned or test signed driver policies, kernel debugger enabled, the system DLLs checked for specific functions, and then it can continue on to malware operations. Uses WMI to try to make this happen, right? Looking for the video controller. Here's looking for DLLs that are associated with common security products. So like SBIEDLL.dll is sandboxy, SXLN.dll is 360 total security. Here's one for Avast. Here's another for Avast. Here's one for Komodo. Also retrieves the system manufacturer model, right? What is the system? Who made this? If it comes back with something like virtual, VMware, VirtualBox, it's like, thanks for playing, self-terminate. Malware also collects system video controller information. We kind of seen this, right? And here's some of those pieces of software that if it finds on your system, it is not going to trust you very much. DNSpy, Wireshark, Hashcalc. I mean, Wireshark seems pretty innocuous, but if it's on there, see ya. I see like Ghidra being, if you got Ghidra on your system, it's pretty, pretty good idea that you're doing some stuff. X64DBG, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Process monitor. Whoa, hit the wrong thing. Yeah, I get that. Again, looking for CPU IDs, and then here are the IDs that they're looking for because they are, associated with those things. Here are the user accounts, right? Paul Jones, Walker, Abby, Frank, Fred, like Lisa. These are the things like, I don't understand why it would not like those. I just don't get it. The others, yeah, I can kind of see VBox user being, VBox user is okay, yeah, then we're in a virtual machine. Here are some of the applications that if it finds, it's not going to like it, right? OllyDBG, Immunity, Wireshark again, DumpCap, right? Hook Explorer, yeah, PE tools. Obviously, these are the things that we use to do malware analysis. It's going to go, no, I'm not playing that game. I'm just going to move on and self-terminate. Let's see here. It then attempts to test internal connectivity, right? So the malware, again, obtains the execution environment to determine if the file name matches the following list. Detonate, virus, test, and malware. Right? Yeah, I remember reading that. What is with the detonate? It was like, it looks for detonate.exe or something. We'll get to that, though, I guess. The malware checks program subdirectory for these things as well. Again, same kind of stuff we've seen. It just keeps checking for these things over and over again. Here's where it checks for wine. This is geolocation to avoid those CIS countries, right? Here's the run anti-CIS. Here are the country codes that it is looking for to avoid. You'll notice RU, UZ, Kaz for Kazakhstan, I guess that's what that is. I'm not familiar with all of these, but yeah, CIS countries, right? Which are the Commonwealth of Independent States. That's what it is, Commonwealth of Independent States. So it's got this whole function here. If you are in one of those areas, it's going to self-terminate, right? It's going to say, nope, I'm out. It's going to pull the plug. All right, then it can actually start doing some system and network data collection, the whole stealing thing, right? I'm going to start stealing stuff. It checks on where it is in the world. Malware uses API.ipify. That's a funny name. API.ipify.org. You can't make this stuff up. It obtains the public IP of the infected system, and then it saves stuff in. This would definitely be IOC stuff. So you've got one is called userdata.txt. That's the save it in the malware's working directory, along with the build ID containing the Telegram channel for the malware's developer. Remember, it uses Telegram as kind of like C2 communications, I guess. But it's really more like just a covert channel for exfilling data. Seems to be a better way of putting it because it doesn't actually do any C2. It just says, hey, here's where I send the data to. So, right, this is the covert channel. It's using Telegram as a covert channel. The list of installed software is called installedsoftwares.txt, and then a list of hard drives present is in driveinfo.txt. The malware also captures screenshots. Those are always fun. Same directory as the stealer logs. There's the code for grabbing screenshots. I'll get into that myself. I want to learn how to do that with Python. Stealer also collects Wi-Fi network information and stores it. Just runs some, it stores it in the Wi-Fi passwords.txt file. Should be all of these lovely little pieces of information are useful to us in stopping this, right? Because if I see these files, if I do a search for this on my system and I find them, that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing, right? It also attempts to scan for available wireless networks and store that information in available networks.txt. It's just using the command prompt to do this. cmd.exe right there. All those were cmd. Then a current list of running processes in running processes.txt. And then it says, once basic system information has been collected and saved, the stealer begins iterating through the specific applications and collecting data based on the malware's configuration. The stealer currently supports collecting passwords, tokens, and other sensitive info from the applications below. And there's a whole list of stuff. Outlook, Thunderbird, Discord, Telegram, Pigeon, ICQ, Signal, Skype, and Talks. What do we got? WinSCP and FileZilla. And it's kind of broken down in categories. So you got email, you got FTP, you got browsers, you got cryptocurrency applications, right? And we see Zcash, Armory, Bitcoin, Jax, Exodus. Just a litany of fun crypto stuff. Browser extensions in Chrome. It also looks for VPN clients, gaming clients, which doesn't seem to be used, but it is there. And then it has some persistence. We're going a little long in this episode, but hopefully it's worth it because there's just so much stuff in here. I mean, think of the stuff that we're learning from this specific malware. Lots of advanced techniques that we can now incorporate into our defensive solutions to look for this kind of stuff or maybe evade their evasions. You never know, right? Here's the gaming clients stuff. It says it can steal data from additional applications, including various gaming clients. However, this functionality was never actually called from main. Well, how about that? Malware contains a file grabber feature, right? Grab all those different file types. We saw the file types earlier. So grab that stuff. It also does this drive enumeration. And then, of course, add that drive's file structure. Look through those file structures and see if you can find anything interesting. Of course, here's a bunch of file extensions. Do your thing. Then here's the data exfiltration part. Here's where it actually starts using that Telegram covert channel to send the stuff, right? Super kind of cool. Man, I feel bad. Like, I'm sick, right? I keep saying I'm sick. I normally like to have more energy, and I just don't feel myself today. I hope you guys can forgive that for me, but hopefully the information is still really good for you. I'll be better next week. I'm taking my vitamins, I'm eating my Wheaties, and I'm saying my prayers. And according to the Hulkster, that's all you need to be back in the game, right? So, it shan't be long. Old Daniel will be back. And this low energy Daniel, he'd be down the road somewhere. I wish I could keep the voice, though. Anyway, basically just using the Telegram API to make this happen, right? HTTPS api.telegram.org/bot. So it's just a bot that's collecting this information. And then send message chat ID equals chat ID and text equals message text, right? So that's how it sends that information. And then you have web client.download string address. Okay. More Telegram stuff for data exfiltration, which is interesting. You know, I actually kind of have been thinking about what would be a cool way to, and this is a word of advice from your boy Daniel here. If you have an idea, you better jump on that like a live grenade. It's about to take out, your house or something, right? Because I was thinking about what would be a great way to do either C2 or covert channel data exfiltration. And you're like, man, what's like a public API? And all the good ones seem to have been taken. And I was messing around with VirusTotal. VirusTotal has an API. And there are fields in the VirusTotal API that would allow for such shenanigans. And then, of course, randomly I'm looking through my like LinkedIn feed and someone's like, I built a C2 channel using VirusTotal API. I'm like, son of a... Yeah, there you go. That's what you get for lollygagging, Daniel. You lose out and being, well, I guess I can still build my own, though. I should still do it, right? I should still do it. I keep trying to, but, I only have so many hours in the day. All right, moving on. So I could definitely learn from how they did it here to implementing my own data exfiltration /C2 channel. All right. So then, of course, once everything is all said and done and it actually exfiltrates the data, it self-terminates. Self-remove.remove. Terminate execution. Booyah. There is no backdoor to this. That's all said and done. Apparently, the previous version used to have a backdoor, but now it took that out. It's just like it runs, it exfils, and then it kills itself and calls it a day. So that's how this thing works. Of course, Cisco is telling you, we've got you covered. Buy our product. Our secure endpoint is ideally suited to prevent the execution of malware detailed in this post. Try a secure endpoint for free here. Hey, you guys did the write-up. We're using it as our main reference point. What are you going to do? They got all sorts of great products, but open source Snort subscriber rules set. Customers can stay up to date by downloading the latest rule pack available for purchase on Snort. They have orbital queries, and then, of course, indicators of compromise. I went ahead and hit that link. It's in a GitHub repo. Here they are right here. Click on that. And bada bing, there's your hash values. Take the old hash values, slap them in your old antivirus, EDR, whatever solution you're using for looking for nasties. And you got your good IoCs right there if you're doing your threat hunting. Obviously, those are going to be super helpful for you. So what was interesting, let me kind of go back to the Hacker News article here, is all the way down here at the bottom of this. They were talking about old versions and how, I don't know the name of this, Sybil disclosed the new Python, but right, they were the first ones to discover the first iteration of this thing. And then it changed and became Typhon. And now we're Typhon Reborn and Typhon V2, the Typhoning, right? And they were talking about how, that said, right, and I quote, so it says, the malware is no different from Typhon Reborn, that is equipped to siphon cookies and passwords from Chromium-based browsers, as well as data from instant messaging, gaming, crypto wallets, and so on and so forth. That said, the malware source code is available on GitHub, thereby allowing threat actors or other threat actors to alter the malware to suit their needs, making it a potent threat. Well, you don't say. So I went to GitHub and I did a search for Typhon. And here it is. Links below. And so you can click in here. And you can click in, keep going down, and hitting that Typhon goodness. And yeah, there's the Telegram stuff, right? Bada bing. Remember I said keep an eye on all this code we're using? Here it is. Pardon me. I cannot wait for this to be gone. Here's all the modules. Right, there's the blacklist, the file grabber, implants, and miscellaneous. What's under implants? Anti-analysis stuff, right? The self-destruct, delay function that it uses. Under miscellaneous, we see anything cool? Data modules, decrypt helper, JSON array. So this is a bunch of fun. This is the networking, some SQLite stuff. Let's look at the blacklist here. Blacklisted countries and blacklisted usernames. Right. It's all right here for the pickings. Let's go to, what is it, properties? Did we go to Stealer already? Resources, Stealer settings. Let's hit that. Because I think in here somewhere. Yeah. So there's all the things that it does the stealing with, right? Browsers, crypto apps, gaming. So let's click on gaming because heck yeah. Steam, Minecraft, and Battle.net. Hit Steam. Here's the code. Now you can know exactly what it's going to try to do and how it's going to try to do it. And fix that. Really cool stuff, man. All right, so I learned a lot from this one. Hopefully you all out there learned a bunch of stuff from this video. Get your hands dirty. Start looking into this stuff. That's why I'm doing this show. And of course, use that information to build better defenses. Obviously, you wouldn't think to change paths and file names and things of that nature for your Steam account, but maybe that's something you need to do. Especially if you're doing things like password reuse, right? So my throat is done. I can talk no more. Do me a favor. If you liked what you saw, if you thought it was valuable, again, there's a buy me a coffee link down in there. Buy me a hot cup of tea. Right? Some honey in it so I can fix these pipes. I do thank you everyone for watching. And hopefully I'll see you a lot less sicker in the next episode of Weekly CTI. Until then, everyone, stay safe and have a great day.